Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I have another installment of my Single Mingle series. If you are new to this series, it is my way of using my single shadows in kind of a fun and creative way where I use a random number generator to help me pick some shades to put together into a little 9-pan palette that I then use for 5 looks. So today this is the palette that we drew last video, and so I'm going to be talking to you about this palette. I'm going to be showing you the 5 looks that I created with it, and then we are going to be drawing a new palette for me to work on for another 5 looks. So I am going to be putting up a picture right now of the different shadows and their names and the companies that they are from. However, for this series, I encourage you to play along with the collection that you have. So it really is more about the colors versus the exact shades from the exact brands. When we do pull the shadows for the next round, I will be doing swatches so that you can see what kind of colors they are. And if you want to play along, you can pick things from your collection that kind of match with those colors. So next, we are going to be going through the 5 looks that I created with this palette. So I'm going to move it over to the side here so that I can put up the photos over here. I will add, before I do that, the last palette that I put together in the first kind of round, I found really inspiring, and I was happy to use it every day. I feel like this one took me a little longer to get through. I wasn't as inspired with this color story. I found it to be a little more muted. There was some colors in here that I don't typically reach for, like this blue, and I found that a lot of the looks kind of looked similar. So I'm going to share with you what I created, but overall, I'm kind of happy that this round is done and we can move on to the next one, and hopefully the random number generator will surprise me with some fun, inspiring shades for the next round. So let's get started. The first look that I created, I went in with this shade here as my transition, and these 2 mattes that the generator pulled worked really well for transition shades for me for the rest of the colors here. So I was really happy with this. So this is the transition shade that I used. I went in with this shade on kind of my outer lid and then deepened it with this shade in the outer corner. I went over most of the lid with this metallic blue here, and then I used this one for my inner corner. So a very pretty look. Like, I was happy with all the looks that I created. I just found them to be, I don't know, just more muted than I will typically go for. They weren't as experimental, I guess. But yeah, that was the first look, and I was happy with that look as it was. For the second look, I wanted to play with more of these kind of warmer peachy shades. So first I started in with this shade for my transition. I went in with this shade on my outer lid and deepened my outer corner with this shade here. I went over the majority of my lid with this shade here, and then I used this shade for my inner corner. For the third look, I really wanted to tackle this shade. I mentioned when we pulled these colors that this kind of blue is I typically don't reach for blues, but if I do, they're more kind of like this icy metallic blue versus like these brighter cobalt blues. So this is the type of shade that kind of intimidates me, so I kind of wanted to get a look done with that out of the way, if you will. So I believe I went in with this shade for my transition, and I kind of buffed it out with this one. Now on the lid, this buffs out to more of a turquoise versus like a straight blue as it appears here. So I actually did like the effect better than like how it looks. But yeah, so I started off the look with this shade here, and then I went over that with this shade here and kind of buffed it out. I layered it up on the outer lid a little bit, and then I think I deepened the outer lid with this shade here, and I went all over the lid then with this shade here, and then the inner corner here. And I'm just going to add, it is a super rainy day today. You might hear some thunder booming in the background, but hopefully you don't mind. I know that I always enjoy a good thunderstorm. So that's going on, in case you're wondering about any background noise. So that was the third look. For the fourth look, I was again going for something more neutral. I think I was going out for the day and I just didn't want anything too crazy. So I went in first with this shade here for my transition. I deepened the outer lid with this shade. I went in all over the lid with this shade, and then the inner corner with this shade. And then finally we got to the fifth look. And like I said, at this point, like I just felt like a lot of the looks were looking very similar. So I wanted to try something different and just kind of combine all those lighter metallic shades. So I went in with this shade here to kind of build up my transition area, and then I warmed it up a little bit with this. So I used both of those in combination for my transition and crease area, and then I used this shade here on both my kind of inner lid and outer lid. I tapped this one kind of in the center and then over the entire area to kind of blend those two, and then I buffed this one into the inner corner. So it was a little bit lighter and a little bit more pastel than some of the other looks. So those were the 5 looks that I created. I would love to know your thoughts on them. If you were playing along, I would love to know what your favorite combination was. Now I am going to get these shadows put back into their places, and we are going to draw some numbers for the next palette. Alright, so I have my random number generator all set up to pull 3 numbers from 1 to 108, which is the number of shadows on my larger shadow board. So let's get those 3 numbers. I'm going to go find what those are. There should be a picture on the screen so you can see where those fall on the board, but I'm going to go grab those and then I'll be right back. So here are our first 3 shades, and you can see we've kind of got a cool toned color story started. So I've got my generator set up now to pull 3 numbers from 1 to 28, which is how many are in my Looksy palette. And yeah, so let's get those 3 numbers. Okay, I'm gonna go pull those and I'll be right back. And here are our next 3 shades, and you can see we definitely have a cool toned purple color story going on. Now I did quickly swatch these 2 because I wasn't sure if I was going to want to draw a different number if these 2 were basically the exact same shades, but I feel like there is enough difference that I am going to leave them in. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off and look at my collection, and I'm going to pull 3 shades of my choice that I feel I either need to complete looks with these colors that have already been picked, or maybe just to add a little bit something extra. But yeah, so I'm going to go pick my 3 shades now. Okay, I'm back, and I think I'm happy with my selections. This was a lot easier than the last time, and I'm really liking this color story. Now, you know me, if you know me, you know I really like purples with peaches lately, so that's kind of where this color story kind of veered towards. But now I'm going to be doing some swatches so that if you want to play along with this color story, you can kind of see what the shadows look like with their finishes and undertones, etc. So here are the top row finger swatched. Again, I did it backwards, my apologies, but this one here is Take the Lead from ColourPop, and it is just kind of like a neutral medium kind of brownie taupe color. This second one here is called Lavendering Love, and that's from the brand Bitsy, and I picked that up at a Sally's Beauty Supply, so that is that shade there. And then the last one here is called Stranger, and this was from one of the AOA Studio 9-pan palettes. I think it was the Date Night palette, and it is just kind of a neutral dark brown. And here you can see them blended out on the skin. So that's the ColourPop Take the Lead. Then we have the Bitsy one, and then the AOA Studio one. So this one here is, I mean, it looks like it has a little bit of shimmer in the pan, but I think it will pretty much behave like a matte. So we've got 3 matte shades to start. So now for the next row, these were the shades that I pulled from my Looksy board. So the first one we have here is Naughty and Napa, and that is this one here. It's kind of a mid-tone, cool tone purple. Next we have this one, which is Duper Star, and you can see that it's kind of a fuchsia base with a blue reflect. So it's like a purpley blue reflect with kind of a pink base. And then this one here is, I guess, Doppio, and it is another cool toned brown, but I believe, hopefully you can see that it is a fair bit darker than that ColourPop one, even though they look very similar in the pan. And here we have them blended out. And now for the final row, here are the finger swatches. This is Coastal Scents Cherry Moss. This is one of my favorite shades from them. You can see that there's a very warm base to it with kind of a greeny gold reflect. This is from Looksy, and it is Caffeine Queen. It is more of a kind of a medium warm peachy shade. And then another shade from Looksy, this is Flower Child, and it's got a peach base with kind of a silver reflect. And here you can see the hand swatches. So we have Cherry Moss there, Caffeine Queen, and Flower Child. So next I'm going to pop these into the palette and we will discuss. So here we have the palette that I'm going to be playing with for the next round, and I'm actually pretty excited about this one. I think I'm going to have a bit more fun with this than the last one, just because, I mean, the colors are a little bit more in the wheelhouse of what I like to play with, and I think everything kind of goes together really well. So the first 6 that were chosen, they all kind of go together. There isn't really one that doesn't work with the others. We have some nice transition shades, like some medium tones here. We have some lighter shades here. This one will be really nice for kind of blending because it is much lighter, or going all over the lid if I want to set up a really light and bright look. We have a darker shade for deepening my outer corner. Actually, this one would work really well for deepening as well, I think. This shade here is just beautiful. I can't wait to wear this all over the lid. I think it will also work as an inner corner highlight. I picked this one just because this was so cool toned. I like mixing warm and cool tones together. I like having that option, and I do like how purples and kind of peachy oranges look together. So I thought this would be a good matte to bring in that would combine well for something just, yeah, for combining those warm and cools. I thought I wanted a warmer matte, so I picked that. And then this shade here I picked because I actually picked this one first because of the browns. I knew it would blend nicely with those, and then because of that greeny gold reflect, I think it's just something really interesting, and I thought combining it with the purples just might be really neat. And then I picked this one because I knew, because this had such a warm base, I wanted a warm matte, so I picked that one there. And then I figured I'd want a metallic that had some warmth to it as well, and something that was also a bit bright, because I do like a bright inner corner. And out of these, this is really the only one that would work for that. So I decided to pick this one here because it was nice and bright for the inner corner. It could also highlight the lid. It had some warmth in it. I thought it would work well with these, but it would be kind of an interesting pop if I decided to pair it with these. Who knows if that's what's going to pan out? But that's basically the reasoning behind choosing the last 3 shades. So as always, I encourage you to play along, go through your collection, see if you have any shades that might be similar to these. I will be posting a photo at the end of the video with all the names and brands and stuff, if there's one that you were curious about. But other than that, I think that is it for this video, and I look forward to playing with these colors and seeing what I can put together. So, as always, I hope you have a fabulous day, and I will see you in the next one.